Welcome back to a round 4 game of GP Caracas. This time we have Purplemurasaki versus Wizzerinus. And Purplemurasaki is playing 5-color Lone Survivor, a deck that's using mana dorks in order to ramp out 8 bears or 5-color top-end creatures. And Wizzerinus is running Esper/Mardu Barx. It's a deck that uses 1 mana ETB artifacts and Barx in order to play down cheap Barx and then get value off that. Purplemurasaki gets lead off with the turn 1 Osk. So funnily enough, Purplemurasaki also built Wizzerinus' deck. At least Wizzerinus got the deck from Purplemurasaki, so it'll be interesting to see how Purplemurasaki plays against their own deck. And look at the non-creature counts in Wizzerinus' deck. They do have a bunch of non-creature spells, and that's not even counting the adventures of the creatures. So I think the hate bears from Purplemurasaki's side will be pretty helpful in this game. And Wizzerinus plays Terraformers Club, one of their 1 mana ETB artifacts, in this case a cantrips. Then they're also going to play a Rod of Marble Roll, which bounces the Mana Dork and slows down Purplemurasaki by a turn. Now Purplemurasaki gets 2 mana to work with this turn, so they can either play out Osk again, or they can play Humble Apprentice and fetch a basic. They're just going to play Osk again and play down a fetch land tapped. Wizzerinus draws Valdez, so they can Valdez Purplemurasaki, and they can either name high or low. They can name high in order to try to hit Purplemurasaki's top end, or they can name low to try to hit Purplemurasaki's ramp. You're going to name high and discard one of Purplemurasaki's Maelstrom Elementals. So naming low would have been way more impactful here, but there wasn't really a way for Wizzerinus to know that, so can't really judge the play on that. Wizzerinus is going to play the Adventure of Downhill Forgemaster, which lets you tutor for an equipment card for 1 mana. So yeah, a very efficient card. And it even comes down to 2 mana 1/1 Double Striker. Purplemurasaki draws another Mana Dork. This turn they can play out L, fetch a basic, and then play a Mana Dork, and they'll have a Rainbow Mana next turn. But of course, they're worried about what Wizzerinus can possibly do. In this case, Wizzerinus has Deadly Harpoon in hand. They fetched off Downhill Forgemaster. But Wizzerinus doesn't have any lands, so they do need to top deck a land next turn, or else they're stuck fetching equipment. Purplemurasaki is going to play down L, Humble Apprentice, and tutor for a basic. And they're also going to play out Thriving Budling. Next turn, Purplemurasaki has 5 mana, or I guess 6 mana. So here Wizzerinus does manage to top deck a land. They can Deadly Harpoon one of Purplemurasaki's creatures. They can Deadly Harpoon the L, prevent it from transforming, or they can Deadly Harpoon one of the Mana Dorks. Although doing that doesn't really do much because Purplemurasaki still gets to 5 mana next turn, even if one of the Mana Dorks gets killed. Instead, Wizzerinus is just going to opt to Toddy, and Purplemurasaki is going to crack their fetch in response because they don't want to pay the Toddy tax. Toddy will make creatures which will chump block Purplemurasaki's attack because Maelstrom Elemental doesn't have trample. For Purplemurasaki, it's a question between whether to transform L or play down Maelstrom Elemental. The transforming L is way better into because Deadly Harpoon also kills Planeswalkers. So Purplemurasaki can do something like transform L and then use the -2 to search their deck for a value creature, such as Submerge. And then Wizzerinus is forced to use Deadly Harpoon to remove the L. Although, they can just kill the L by attacking because Purplemurasaki would have had to tap all the Mana Dorks to flip L. Playing the Maelstrom Elemental instead of flipping the L also has the benefit of triggering the augmented ability of Thriving Budling, which untaps it and puts 3 counters on it. So that would allow Purplemurasaki to block the tokens. Although if they don't play out L, then they don't really care much about blocking tokens. But it will prevent the tokens from attacking. Purplemurasaki finally decides to just play out Maelstrom Elemental. And I guess they're going to attack, and it gets chumped as expected. And Thriving Budling gets 3 counters. The Wizzerinus is probably just going to Deadly Harpoon the Maelstrom Elemental. And that's a pretty good exchange for Wizzerinus because they get to kill the Maelstrom Elemental before it really does anything. They even manage to chump it. So the 7 hasted damage didn't even come into play. Wizzerinus has a handful of Dawnhill Forge Masters, so once they get more mana, they can just tutor for anything they need. And Purplemurasaki draws another Dovan's Masterwork. Probably not what they wanted, so Purplemurasaki can transform L now, and +1 it to dig for stuff, because L's +1 lets you draw 2 cards and then discard a land. I think Purplemurasaki is more than happy to discard the Wayfarer Shrine right now. Yeah, so it seems like Purplemurasaki is just going to transform L here, and they're going to plus it. So they do find Betsy's Brood, which is a pretty decent card right now because it kills stuff and leaves the body. Purplemurasaki might also primal the Dovan's Masterwork because it's not like they have anything else to do. Actually, they might want to leave one of the Maelstrom Elements of the yard for Submerg. Yeah, they're going to primal the Dovan's Masterwork, which means they have to exile 2 cards from their 2 green cards from the graveyard to cast it. The Dovan's Masterwork, in addition to ramping, also acts as a blocker for Valir. Wizzerinus still doesn't draw into well, they can Dawnhill Forge Master for another Deadly Harpoon, right? How many copies of Deadly Harpoon does Wizzerinus run? Well, they only run 1 copy. Okay, so they can't fetch a second copy of Deadly Harpoon with Dawnhill Forge Masters. So Wizzerinus probably is going to fetch Rod of Marlborough with the Forge Masters instead. See what else they can. So they can also fetch Explorer's Torch, which just draws them a card. Or no, they can't even fetch Rod of Marlborough because they only have 1 copy. So yeah, they're just going to use Dawnhill Forge Master to fetch Explorer's Torch, which is a cantrip for 1 mana at worst. So Wizzerinus is going to pinch pennies and aims high, which snags Dovan's Masterwork. Wizzerinus swings at Valir, and one of them gets blocked. Surprisingly, they're not swinging out this turn. Like if you're swinging for 1, then if you're swinging with 1 guy, you should just swing out anyways because that's the only way you're dealing damage. Wizzerinus is going to use Toddy's -4 to search out an Initiative, but Initiative is still pretty far away from flipping. And Purplemurasaki draws Smurg, so that's really good because that's a huge top-end creature that ends the game and gets them a bunch of value. But what can Smurg get back from Graveyard? Only Dovan's Masterwork. So if Purplemurasaki plays Smurg, they're kind of hoping to hit something in the top 5 cards of their deck, but they have plenty of good hits. So I guess Purplemurasaki is going to ask for a rules question about how Toddy interacts with Smurg. And it seems like the answer is that you don't have to pay if you only search your graveyard. So with Toddy out, Smurg isn't that good of a play because you can only Smurg back a Dovan's. Purplemurasaki can. Well, did they already plus? No, they haven't plus Valir yet. So this turn they can -4 Valir, get rid of Toddy, and then be able to play Smurg without any constraints. That would also let them fetch with Amber Hills without having to pay. And I think that's what Purplemurasaki is going to do. Or no, they're going to plus Valir in order to draw again. But all they draw is lands. They can Betsy's Brood to Initiative, I guess. But they're going to play out Grand Smurg. And they're going to pay for Toddy. So they will get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Let's see what they hit off Smurg. Worst case scenario, they get back Dovan's Masterwork. It seems like Purplemurasaki managed to find a 2-drop in the top of their deck and then also got back Dovan's from the graveyard. They did manage to spend all 5 mana values of the ETB. The Fox Viewer is kind of annoying for Wizzerinus because they're kind of low on lands and they have a bunch of non-creatures. Wizzerinus decides to Pithville to Valir, paying through the Fox Viewer. And now they can't do anything else this turn other than equip Explorer's Torch. They might just equip the Torch and swing, but they don't really have any good attacks either because Murasaki has a really good board. Wizzerinus is just going to pass their turn. They can't really do much now that they're kind of tapped out. Purplemurasaki draws another land. So they can't keep going off, but I think the current resource that they have is enough to end the game. They're going to swing in with the 5/5 flyer and finally kill the Toddy. So they get to actually fetch again. But for most part, it doesn't really affect anything on Purplemurasaki's side of the board currently. And Purplemurasaki is not going to Bessie's Brood to Niche 2. They're saving Bessie's Brood for something else, I guess. But Wizzerinus is going to draw and concede. Guess they see Purplemurasaki's board and figured they weren't coming back from that. Look at sideboarding. Wizzerinus probably wants to bring in more Barxes because Barx is a good value card. Probably wants to bring in more Pith Votes, and then on Purplemurasaki's side, I think they just want to bring in more Summit Guardians, Submergs, Bessie's Brood, Stone Devastator. They probably want to bring in their entire board except Stand Unassailable. So we're already back in the middle of game 2. Wizzerinus plays a top Triland on turn 1. Purplemurasaki gets out a Mana Dork on turn 1. Wizzerinus is probably going to Rift Splicing, except they don't have the right colors of mana to Rift Splicing. They're locked out of black mana right now, and that's a really big problem because all of their good cards in hand are black. Wizzerinus is going to use Downhill Forge Master to fetch Shield. And Purplemurasaki gets to play down, or actually no, they don't, because they don't have the right colors of mana. So the best they can do is play down their turn 2 Owl plus another Starving Budling. Purplemurasaki plays another Starving Budling. Next turn they have 5 mana and they can drop Summit Guardian if Wizzerinus doesn't answer any of Purplemurasaki's creatures. And Wizzerinus, it still doesn't draw black mana, so yeah, they're not going to answer Purplemurasaki's creatures, and all they can really do is play Downhill Forge Master again. They don't even have double white for Toddy. So yeah, extremely bad land draw for Wizzerinus this game. Purplemurasaki probably not passing up any chance to cast a turn 3 Summit Guardian. Purplemurasaki just going to play out Lone Survivor first though. Well, I guess right, because Purplemurasaki doesn't have a Summit Guardian mana yet, because their Thriving Budlings aren't making red currently. Wizzerinus still hasn't drawn the land that they need. They have Terraform this globe, so at least that sort of helps the mana fix. Purplemurasaki still refusing to drop Summit Guardian. What are they trying to play around here? Yeah, I'm not sure. Wizzerinus Pith Votes to L, and that will let Wizzerinus get L's ETB, which lets them search up a basic and put it into their hand. And they use that ability to get the much needed swamp that they need in order to cast all their other spells. And they're going to play Niche 2. They're quite far from flipping currently. Meanwhile, Purplemurasaki fetches again. I think they have 5 color mana for Thriving Budling. They can either Summit Guardian to lock down the game even further, or Submerged in order to try to get some more value and then win from there. So, since Purplemurasaki, they even have a third Budling to play out. Okay, so since Purplemurasaki spent 5 colors of mana on the Summit Guardian, the triggers augmented of all 3 Thriving Budlings, which will put counters on top of them, and Wizzerinus is just going to concede because they kind of see the writing on the wall. They're not going to recover from that. But game 2 is unfortunate because Wizzerinus didn't draw black lands on their first few turns, and if they did draw black lands, then the game would have been massively different because they could have used removal spells on Mana Dorks and the discard on Purplemurasaki's hand.